Welcome to NCBA's Cattleman's Call podcast with host Lane Nordland.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cattleman's Call podcast here at CattleCon 26 in Nashville, Tennessee. We're broadcasting from the KW. What is it? What is? I already screwed that up once. KOW. Yeah. WKOW. Well, it spells cow somehow, right?
That's what I've been told.
So I've been told. I didn't learn that in elementary school. That's why it confused me there too. But a great time here at Cattle Convention, and one of the features every single year is the announcement of the Environmental Stewardship Award winners. And last evening, I had the pleasure of serving as the MC for the awards banquet and highlighting the 6 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award and being able to announce the national winner. And I'm joined today by the family that makes up the Wineglass Ranch in Imperial, Nebraska. I'm joined by Logan and Jeff Pribbeno here today. They were announced the winners last night. So congratulations, gentlemen, and your families for this very well-deserved recognition.
Thanks, Lane.
Thank you.
And I should mention, of course, our main sponsors of this event are the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Corteva, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And Logan, you and I had a podcast that aired this fall. You were joined by a few other regional ESAP winners, and I really enjoyed that conversation because we were all able to discuss your operations, and you were asking questions with each other about the certain practices that are carried out on ranches. And now we all came here to Nashville, and the big announcement came out last night. What was that feeling like when I fumbled the announcement because I didn't know it was actually coming on a video announcement? I thought I had to read it. I don't know if you caught that. Hopefully you didn't. What was that like, though, when your ranch was announced as the ESAP winner for 2025?
Oh, it was great. Josh stopped us when we were getting off the stage, and then that kind of, you're like, why do you want us to pause here? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then I was like, oh, I bet we're going back up. And it was like a euphoric feeling, honestly.
And you were Region 7, so you're the last ones to get announced, too. And, we had to talk about that because I'm like, well, we probably don't need to let them go sit down at that point either. But, Jeff, for yourself, what was that like, hearing that announcement, but also being on stage with your son, your daughter-in-law, your wife, but also those 2 granddaughters?
Well, I was first shocked, and then I was just really proud of having the whole family there. And so it was a real honor. It's a wonderful program, and it's all the recipients, the 6, any one of them could have been a winner. And it's just good to get environmentally conscious ranchers recognized.
And I think that's my favorite part of that awards ceremony is seeing all the families. And I know not all family members or business partners can make it to these awards sessions. We're busy on our ranches, but to see multi-generational ranches, family members on that stage like your family as well, it kind of gets a guy choked up when you're watching it, when you're listening and watching the stories that are produced, the videos that we play as well. And it's just a glimpse of your family operations. Logan, for our listeners and viewers here today, could you just give us a quick overview of the history of the ranch, your management practices, what type of cattle you're running out there, and then we'll continue our conversation.
Sure. So I'll be brief because it's a lot like every other 5th generation ranch. My great grandfather, great grandfather Sherman McCoy. We are part of the McCoys from the Kentucky, so if there's any Hatfields listening, we do have a truce.
Okay.
So welcome. So he left Kentucky. He took the train as far as he could to LC, Nebraska, and he walked the last 20 miles to the homestead, which is now the headquarters of Wineglass Ranch. And he expanded rapidly, first generation. So there was a drought in the 1890s, and there were a lot of people in southwest Nebraska that didn't abandon, but they were willing to sell their claim for really not much because they didn't think that farming was really going to work in that part of the world. And he was aggressive and thought the opposite and grew very, very rapidly in that first generation. And we've been slowly, steady growing since then. but he bit off the first big chunk. Most of our growth was Gen 1.
What type of cattle or livestock was he running at the time?
He was running Shorthorns, and he wasn't even Herefords in his generation.
No. I think it was Shorthorns.
And
He had a
Doors.
mixed herd.
Yeah.
And
A lot of hybrid vigor.
that's
he
right.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he really did a lot of farming too. So he had a lot of draft horses.
Mhm.
And so there was a combination of draft horses and cattle to utilize the range that he ended up purchasing.
Jeff, what do you think what would his reaction be today about what that family operation has become? It's so hard to wrap your mind around using draft horses like they did back in the day, and just you had to work hard because there was no other way to do it. But what do you think his response would be?
Well, first of all, it's a miracle that we can keep this operation in the family for 140 years. And there's been a lot of family members that have retained ownership through the years. So it's been a multi-generational family-owned business. Our immediate family owns the bulk of it now, but he would be really proud to know that it's multi-generationally owned.
Yep. And Logan, from your perspective, looking down to maybe your great grandchildren, what do you hope they look at livestock production as, and maybe the work that you and your forefathers have done? What do you hope obviously we hope they're still in production agriculture, but what do you hope to instill in them?
I hope that they recognize what they got. How you would manage that property if you were to maximize profit for 10 years versus thinking about your kids and your kids' kids is totally different. So you just can't take too much, especially where we are in the Sandhills. It's just very, very fragile ecosystem, and you really have to respect it. And I hope that they know when to hit the gas pedal and when to hit the brakes, because there's a time to hit the gas and there's a time to hit the brake, and you got to manage the cash flow and the ecology, and I hope that they do it well.
So let's talk about your ecosystem there. What it's like, some changes that Jeff and then also yourself have implemented, and how that land is being more productive through sustainability, through conservation and environmental stewardship, and just what it's like to steward that land.
Sure. So to give you kind of a layout, we're in southwest Nebraska where it's farm and ranch country. So we farm, we have a dryland farm, and then we have a ranch attached to it. We're really unique in our operation, and some of the other ESAP winners were the same in that farming and the farm ground is a really important part of our cattle production system. So our AUMs harvested are mostly on farm ground. So we are more on farm ground than we are on the ranch ground when we're managing cattle. Like right now, we're 100% grazing corn stalks, completely off the ranch. So we're pretty unique in that it's not pure sandhills. We're right where the farming meets the ranching, and that allows us to grow cover crops and do a lot of fun stuff. I very much am that guy that, you got a bovine on farmland. I'm very much in my element of management. So we're right on that edge of ranch and farm country, and try to straddle it.
And what would you say is your mission at Wineglass Ranch? If you're talking with a consumer out in the countryside or out at a grocery store that's interested in your ranch, your sustainability, what would you say your mission is?
Oh, that's a good question. Sustainably produce cash flow.
That's a great statement.
Yeah. Anything to add to that?
No, you got to have both.
Yeah, and the cash flow component.
Otherwise,
is
you can't
critical.
you can't stay in business. So,
And
but I'll just add to that a little bit. I mean, when I took over, I really was interested in diversity, adding as much diversity to the rangeland and the farm ground that we could. And we've really brought back a lot of birds and animals and prairie chickens, and it's very notable.
Jeff, what age were you when you came back and took over?
Well, I came back right after college, so I was 21, and my wife Connie and I came back, and my my dad and my grandfather were running the business, and when I came back, my dad said, "Well, I'm going to go do something else. You're here." So I was in business with my grandfather for 10 years, and then have managed it until Logan came and joined us.
What was the dynamic working with your grandfather versus your father? What was there benefits to that? Was it a little easier, or what were the challenges too, and the opportunities?
Well, it was really easy because that, the one generation in between. So we had a great relationship, and I really leaned on him hard um, to learn whatever I could from him. The only disadvantage was that we missed out on some growth opportunities because he was 70 years old or and didn't wasn't interested in growing and doing things different. So I I lost a little time there,
Yeah.
but I learned a lot at
Yep.
the same time.
So, Logan, for yourself now coming in and managing the ranch, let's talk a little bit about your professional background that then led you back home and how that's aiding you and your family operation.
Sure. So I knew that I was going to come back to the ranch when I was 18. Um, Something just clicked, and ecosystem management was the idea that really brought me back. And so I went to my parents and I said, I think I'm going to, I want to be involved in the family ranch. And they said, great, you're going to need to leave the state of Nebraska for 10 years and you're going to need to not study ag, have a short career outside of it and then come back. You need to prove yourself in the real world before you come back. So I went to school in California, University of California, Santa Barbara. It's right on the beach. It's a wonderful party school. Met my wife there. I studied economics in between the partying, and really loved economics. And then I went into the Silicon Valley Bay Area. I worked for a consulting firm and did financial and accounting services for startup companies in the Silicon Valley. And my dad called me 3 months short of 10 years. So I technically wasn't away for 10 years, but he called me 3 months short and said there was an opening and the time was right if it was going to work for us. And so we moved back to the ranch in April of 2012.
And as you look at this too, taking that experience in the big city, we'll call it too, how has that parallel helped you be more successful in working with family, but also with that landscape as well?
Well, the first drought I experienced was in the Silicon Valley. It was a 2008 crisis.
Yeah.
And Silicon Valley in the Bay Area is a very boom and bust town. When things are really good, things are very good. And when they are bad, they are very bad. So immediately upon graduation, I experienced the financial crisis, and there were layoffs at my firm and elsewhere. And I had to pivot I was doing startup consulting for pre-IPO planning for startup companies. There were no IPOs in the Bay Area for 2 years following that Great Depression, and so I had to instantly pivot to more accounting heavy and M&A stuff. So I just learned how to pivot in the real world, and I learned what was important to the people. So I wasn't laid off, and my wife was doing the same thing, working for the San Francisco Chronicle, and it just taught us toughness and shifting, and then also real world numbers. So I got to see a lot of equity structuring in the companies that I worked with, and really got very comfortable with large businesses and how they structure their equity and their company and their cash flow. And it's been very valuable back on the ranch when it's come time to manage our operation.
So what type of grazing systems are you managing along with the cattle that fit that environment?
Sure. So we do a rotational grazing system. We use pasture maps to kind of help us with that. Our whole ranch is subdivided. When I was in high school, me and a crew did a lot of fencing. I probably built more high tensile fence than anyone on planet Earth, honestly. And so what we did was in the 90s, we would take and we tried to make every pasture be approximately about 300 acres and have 2 stock tanks. And what we like to do when we're on the range is we like to graze those twice in the growing season, once or twice in the growing season. In a very wet year like we had last year, you can sometimes hit it a third time. But we've been doing that. One thing that we've added more recently is 20% of the ranch is deferred annually.
Okay.
So that it kind of just allows it that full year of rest and regrowth, and then we'll obviously start and we'll calve. We calve on the range, so we'll calve in those deferred pastures the following year. And that's a new practice that we've added that we really like.
And with so much of that land being farmland quality, what are some of these different forages you've been able to explore and implement in your rotations and your rest rotations, and how that's benefiting both soil but also the animal production as well?
Yeah, well, when my dad started with the rotational grazing, sand blue stem came back right away. That's a very important grass for us. Indian grass, for range judging in Southwest Nebraska is very easy. You go and you look for Indian grass, and then you're like climax vegetation. It's perfect. So the Indian grass is the one grass. It's the last one to show up in your grass management. But those are two individual species that we look for to determine that we're doing a good job for the ground.
So, as you look to the future of being competitive in the livestock business, what are some strategies you're currently looking at to continue to be competitive out on the landscape, but also in beef production as well, and finding markets for beef?
Sure. We do like to be nimble. We aren't committed to one industry. We are one enterprise. We jump in and out of cow-calf and stocker and some other enterprises. Volatility in the cattle industry is our friend. I know a lot of producers are, bemoan the volatility, and I get that. But for us, that volatility is a very good thing. We like a buying opportunity, and we like a selling opportunity, and we try to be more nimble. But yeah, keeping an open mind and focus on the cash flow, getting the buy right, getting the sell right, is critical for us.
So, as we look to the challenges that agriculture faces, whether it's during good times, whether it's during drought, how has the family worked to have plans in place to, again, run an enterprise and be able to manage natural disaster, market shifts, consumer preferences?
That's a good question. Drought is the big one for most ranches and farms, and we're unique in that we have the farm ground where we can kind of rely on that, whereas a lot of the ranches in the heart of the Sandhills or the heart of Montana, they really don't have that. It's just 100% rainfall systems. We do have some irrigation that we work with, so it always is a good fallback. So one of the advantages of where we are in the farmland system is we can flex onto the farm ground. Like if we have a very bad drought, we'll just graze off our corn. And that's a really good reserve for us. If the wheat crop isn't looking good, we'll just graze it off. We've messed up spraying a field one time, and it was a field of milo, and we just get to erase it. We just put 1,000 steers out there for a couple weeks, and we erased the problem.
And you would describe yourself as a progressive rancher.
I would.
What are some challenges you see in the progressive ranching space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would. Volatility is your friend. It also, you got to write it up and write it down right. That is critical. And we're sitting here at all-time highs, or we're $10 within all-time highs currently. And it's just what can be tough is just knowing what to do to maximize riding those waves up and riding them down. It will make or break you. Harlan Hughes has said, when you enter into the cow-calf enterprise and when you exit, the timing is more important than anything else. And timing is very important. So if you're a progressive cattleman looking to time things, that is a challenge.
What are some partners, Jeff, that you initially started working with when you came back to manage the operation and help set you on a very sustainable and progressive path as well?
Well, when I came back, there wasn't a lot of money in the cow-calf business, and we were wheat farmers too, and so we were kind of living off that. And I knew we had to be making some changes, so I got really excited when Alan Savory came to the country and Stan Parsons spent a lot of time learning a new way to ranch. And in those days, there really wasn't a lot of room for error. And to make money during those times, you just couldn't spend any. So we were running 1,000 cows per man and trying to run large groups and really making the cows work for us. And it worked. I made it through that period with those ideas, and when Logan came back, we started to get some more margin in the cow calf business, and so we run it a completely different way now. We're way more intensively managed than I'm used to, and it's been a good thing.
Yeah, Randy Block always has that chart of the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
and the entire industry, packer, stalker, cow, calf, is fighting over about 50, $60, and and then it got a little bit better, and now we're into the 800, 1,000 plus, but yeah, it's the times have changed.
What are some of the partners, whether it be USDA agencies or anything like that, or other nonprofits that you've worked with to put a focus on the land, but also maybe help expansion as well?
NRCS, we've worked with them for 30 years. We really lean to them to help with the cost share and the design of the cross fencing system. And then ranching for profit is something that changed our ranch's trajectory when my dad went through it. We send all of our management employees after about 2 years after they've been with us to Ranch for Profit, and that's been a really good program for us.
What is something, an idea, or a method that is overlooked that could help producers be better land stewards and more profitable in the countryside? What's something that's overlooked that you think, God, everyone could do this? It's pretty easy.
Yeah, bovines on farm ground, so these corn farmers they're losing money hand over fist right now, and running a steer and adding value that way is a great way to fix your cash flow. It's really what it does, and farming is just in a state where the cows have moved west out of the Midwest, and I think it's overlooked the fact that there should be more cows in the farm belt and the corn belt, and I think that's something people are overlooking currently.
What's in store for the future of the Wine Glass Ranch?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, continued expansion of the range. We've been buying and developing properties and staying at scale. So there's really something to be said for specialization in agriculture, and you have to keep your foot on the gas when it comes to expansion. You really can't be happy with where you're at. You need to keep going so you can achieve that scale and work at scale with the margin benefits.
What's a message you have to those family operations in the countryside that are doing very innovative things, but maybe they're a little shy from maybe submitting their name for a state ESAP recognition or for the national ESAP program? Well, what's something you would encourage them to do about how important it is to share your story, even if you're a little camera shy?
You just need to share your story there. And NCBA does a great job of highlighting the ranches that are kind of on the envelope of sustainability, and we would sure love to have you up there. And Lane will help you, and he'll give you the questions beforehand so you can read through them. They know how to manage you, so don't be afraid to apply.
What was it like seeing all those past winners stand up last night and be recognized?
Oh, it was great, and I was able to get introduced to a lot of them
Yeah.
at the reception beforehand, and definitely it's an honor, and I feel like I'm in very good company with those guys.
Yep.
It was an outstanding group of people.
Jeff, any last thoughts on this program, and how are you feeling about the future of the family business?
Well, I'm really confident, and again, I'm proud. And those are the two words that that sums up my feelings.
Yeah. And Logan, what do you want us to say maybe to our sponsors of the ESAP program?
Yeah, well, thank you to the sponsors. Was able to mingle with them as well, and they had sent wonderful representatives. And I appreciate you flying the whole family out here. It was wonderful to have everyone out there, and I appreciate all of you.
And one last thing, if someone walks up to you on the street and asks about what the ESAP program is, what's your elevator pitch going to be? Has Reba trained you up yet on that?
I do need a little bit more training on that, Reba. It is highlighting the wonderful ranches across the United States, and putting this NCBA put in the spotlight. And, NCBA is a Big Tent organization, and ESAP is the tool that they use to put a spotlight on the multi-generational ranches of the U.S.
Well, again, all those ranches were very deserving of their regional award winners, and I am glad I wasn't on that committee. Yeah, but very well-deserved honor for the Pribbeno family and for Wineglass Ranch, and it was just great seeing your family up there last night and all the families on stage. So I want to thank you both for joining us. I know it's kind of an early morning podcast after a big event and maybe a little celebrating last night. So,
no, thanks, Len. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations to the Pribbeno family. And for more information on the Environmental Stewardship Award Program and to watch all the videos of the Wineglass Ranch as the national winner and the 2025 regional winners, check out environmentalstewardship.org. And you can watch all those and past regional and national award winners as well. With that, friends, that will do it for today's conversation from CattleCon 2026. I'm Lane Nordlund. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to NCBA's Cattleman's Call podcast with Lane Nordlund. For more information, visit ncba.org and make sure to subscribe to the podcast today.